Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time joining me here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. If this is not your first time and you've seen other videos, welcome back. I am so glad that you are here too. What I want to talk to you about today is the interesting varieties that I'm going to be growing in my spring and summer garden this year. I like growing a garden that combines traditional with the unique. I will always grow peppers and tomatoes and okra, marigolds, basil, dill, and a bunch of other stuff in my garden. And I will always grow like the very typical common varieties of those things. But I also like to combine function with beauty and create a really wonderful, beautiful ecosystem that will feed the pollinators and be a habitat for birds and predator insects that are gonna take care of pests for me. And I like to have interesting things that I can go out and harvest from the garden and be able to cook healthy foods for my family. I mean, that's the best part, right? We get to eat most of it. So I wrote down a list of what I think are the most interesting varieties of things that I'm growing in my garden this year. This is not all inclusive. I think everything that I'm growing is interesting, otherwise what's the point? But this is like the stuff that's going to provide a lot of color or texture or just something kind of unique and unusual, or maybe it's just like a new to me variety that I'm really excited to grow. So I'm going to start with the peppers simply because that's the list that has the most new to me stuff that I'm growing this year. So I mean, I'm growing mostly traditional stuff, your jalapenos, your serranos, banana peppers. I'm growing like a rainbow of jalapenos, lemon spice, orange spice, pumpkin spice, regular green jalapenos that ripen to red, and then brown jalapeno. So I kind of am running the gamut as far as all of the colors of jalapenos go, but I have some other interesting varieties that I kind of want to talk about. So the first one is Buena Mulata. I grow this every year. It is my husband's favorite pepper that I grow. Anytime one is big enough to harvest, he's on it. It is a purple cayenne. As it ripens, it becomes like a beautiful peachy pink. It kind of looks like the sky, either right at sunrise or right at sunset, all those beautiful fiery purple, pink, orange colors. And then it ripens to the typical cayenne red, but the flavor is absolutely amazing. The plant is super prolific, so I grow it every year without fail. I will be growing it again this year. The next one is new to me. It's a Mulatto Islena. It is a brown poblano type. So poblano peppers are typically what is used to make ancho chili powder, poblanos, after they ripen and you dry them, they become ancho chilies, and that is what is typically used in chili powder for like your taco seasoning or chili or any of those things that require the traditional chili powder. This is actually just a brown poblano type pepper. I grew poblanos last year and I actually had pretty good luck. I mean, they didn't get super gigantic, but I got quite a few of them. So I want to try this brown one just to see if the plant is more prolific or if it's more flavorful or if it's just more beautiful. Either way, I'm good with that. And then I am going to be growing the Aleppo pepper. This is a pepper that is used in Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cuisine. A lot of times they will make like a sauce with it, and then they use that sauce as a condiment on the dishes. From what I understand, it is a bit spicy. I have not had it before, so it will be not only new to me growing it, but new to me eating it. But I'm really excited about it. We eat a lot of Mediterranean food, so I am stoked to have some sort of condiment that can help jazz up our dinners. And then the last three are also new to me. The mushroom pepper. It is a hot mushroom shaped pepper that is related to the habanero. So I am guessing that the flavor profile is going to have those similar fruity notes that a habanero has. But I am growing this for my husband. He loves really spicy things. It's my mission in life to give him the hiccups whenever I bring in peppers from the garden. And then the next one is called a rattlesnake pepper. Okay, I used to be like deathly terrified of snakes. I would become physically ill. Like I could not even go into the reptile house at the zoo without having a panic attack. Like deathly terrified of snakes. And this is Texas. There's lots of snakes. And I know that my fear was incredibly irrational. So I actually joined like a local Facebook group that helps you, it teaches you how to identify the snakes that are in your area. And I learned a lot. And while, you know, I'm not going to be cuddling with any snakes anytime soon, no high fives, no bear hugs or anything. I am much better with my fear. I can look at it and 99% of the time I know what it is and I know how to avoid it or maybe kind of deter it from my property. I understand what they provide to our ecosystems and our environment, so I am not on a mission to end any snake lives here. I think that they are very important creatures and I don't harm them at all. But when I got these seeds in a seed swap and when she said the name of them is rattlesnake, I was like, okay, I have to grow these. I don't even care what they are. But I researched what they are because, you know, we're going to be growing them. They're actually a hatch chili variety. And if you know anything about hatch chilies, they're incredibly popular here. Hatch chilies originated in New Mexico. Technically, to be called hatch chilies, they have to be grown within a certain part of New Mexico. Obviously, I'm not in New Mexico, I'm in North Texas, so I'm just going to call them rattlesnake peppers. But they did come from hatch chili peppers. They're like a, you know, kind of offshoot of that, and they're an extra hot variety. I didn't look to see how many Scovilles they are. It couldn't be any harder than a Carolina Reaper. But I'm growing them again for my husband Jake. It's the hiccup mission. So I'm really excited about those. That's why I told you that whole rattlesnake snake fear backstory. They're like a larger pepper, so it'll be really fun to see those growing. And then the last kind of fun variety, interesting variety of pepper that I'm growing this year. And I'm sorry about the reflections. There's Girl Scout cookies there and then seeds starting over there. They're actually in front of me, but kind of the lights are causing reflections here. So my apologies for that if that's distracting you. Anyway, distracting you, distracting me, distracting everybody. Okay, so the last pepper that I think is interesting that I'm growing this year is called a violet sparkle. It is a sweet pepper. It is violet in color, and it's like a shorter version of I think the best way to describe the shape is like those snack peppers that you get at the grocery store, the bag of like red, orange, and yellow peppers. They're the same shape as that, but they're violet in color. So I'm really excited about those. I love adding different colors to the garden where it's not just your same old green peppers and red tomatoes. I like to grow really fun things, try to have a whole rainbow going out there. But that's kind of all the peppers. Well, I mean, it's not all the peppers. I have 40 something seeds planted to get going here. So, but like I said, most of them are your traditional jalapeno, serrano, cayenne, banana pepper, stuff like that. So we will move on through this list because it's a little bit long, my apologies. So the next thing, I am growing amaranth this year. I grew it last year, and I had a volunteer plant because the first one that I planted self-seeded. The volunteer plant ended up bigger than its parent plant. It was hilarious. It probably got like 10 feet tall, and I've never seen that. That was the burgundy amaranth, and I really loved kind of the fluffiness of it. It added like a different textural component to the garden. So I have more varieties of amaranth that I'm going to be growing this year. One of those is the elephant head amaranth. So this has really large flowering burgundy flowering heads, and the flower heads actually do look like an elephant head with like defined ears and the trunk and stuff. So I thought that was really cool. I love elephants, so you know, I was like, okay, I can't have an actual elephant because that would be cruel, and I don't know how to take care of a whole elephant, so I'll just have the elephant plant, right? And then the other interesting variety of amaranth that I'm growing is called Love Lies Bleeding. It's kind of like a drooping, but it's not sad, so it's like drooping, cascading kind of deep red flowers. I'm going to do my best to try to insert pictures of all of this stuff so you can kind of see what I'm trying to poorly describe. But I'm gonna move on to basil. I grow a ton of basil every year. We use it throughout the entire spring and summer. Cut it and use it fresh in literally almost everything. So I grow a ton of basil. It also helps to repel a lot of different pests, and once it starts to flower, it feeds the pollinators like crazy. So I love growing basil. I grow any kind that I can get my hands on. My absolute favorite used to be blue spice, just because of the way that it smelled. It has like a basil and vanilla mix. It's amazing. But I have a new favorite. I'm still gonna grow blue spice, but my new favorite is purple ruffles. The reason why it is my favorite is the leaves are kind of like ruffly, but whenever the plant first sprouts and starts growing and it's like a young plant, the leaves are variegated and it is absolutely beautiful. So between the ruffly leaves and the variegation, it's just such a fun plant to watch it grow, and it still has such a wonderful basil flavor. So again, favorite basil, going to be growing it. And then the next interesting one is a pollinator magnet. So this is the cardinal basil. And the leaves are, you know, like your traditional Italian Genovese sweet basil, but the flower heads, once it goes to flower, are actually these giant red clusters, and the pollinators, like bees, little hoverflies, all these little flying insects, they just like gravitate to the cardinal basil flower heads, and it is so much fun to watch, and the basil is so beautiful once it reaches that flowering stage. So I'm going to plant probably 3 cardinal basil plants. It might be too much, I don't know, with all my other basils. We'll have to see, because like I said, I grow any basil I can get my hands on. Another companion plant slash medicinal plant that I like to grow every year is calendula. I actually need to check to see if the calendula that I had growing was still alive after this deep freeze that we had, because it is frost tolerant, but I don't know how frost tolerant. But I grow calendula every year. If you grow just the Racina variety, it is medicinal. It is used a lot in skincare to help with rashes and eczema. But the other ones also have medicinal properties, but not as effective as just the regular Racina yellow calendula flowers. These are just pretty, and they help repel hornworms, and they are pollinator friendly. Pollinators love them. So coffee and cream is one of my favorites. It's not going to sound like it's as stunning as it is because it's a beige flower, but The blossoms are really showy, and then they're kind of tinged with a little bit of peach. I'm definitely gonna put pictures in of that one just because it is so striking, and it doesn't sound like something you would want to grow, but I promise you it's absolutely beautiful. I love it so much. And then the other calendula that's kind of an interesting variety is the strawberry blonde. This one just has pink and yellow blossoms, so the pink will kind of fade into yellow as it gets to the center, or vice versa. It has different variations on each flower head. None of them are the same, so it's really interesting to watch it grow. Calendula is really easy to grow. You sow the seeds and you're done. Like, it thrives on neglect almost. You don't have to water it a whole, I mean, you do in the summertime whenever it's 1,000,000 degrees, but it's not as thirsty as other plants. And like I said, up until whatever day it got super cold, Sunday, it was still alive and kicking. I went out and took pictures of whatever varieties I still had alive whenever they were covered in snow. And they still looked like they were okay, so maybe they pulled through. The next pollinator plant that I like to grow a lot of is marigold. Marigold also helps repel against spider mites, and also the bad guy nematodes, the ones that will eat the roots of your plants. So I like to grow a ton of marigold. Whenever you pack in marigold with basil in with your tomatoes, that's really going to help repel a lot of pests. So it's incredibly useful, and they're really cute. So I have two really interesting varieties aside from like your typical, yellow and kind of orangish shades of marigolds that you see all through Lowe's and Home Depot in the early spring whenever they start putting out their spring and summer plants. One of those is sugar and spice. This one is creamy white blossoms, so it's like kind of ivory. Really cute, like fluffy flower heads. The pollinators really enjoy it. Like I said, it does have pest repelling benefits, but it's just, a different color. The other one is orange flame. So this is like bright orange, like brighter than what you're gonna find at the big box stores. So I'm really excited about this one. I don't think I grew it last year. I grew Queen Sophia, which I don't have this year. So I'm excited to grow orange flame. Another flower that has some interesting varieties is nasturtium. Now I grow a ton of nasturtium. One, the entire plant is edible from the seed to the leaves to the flowers. And it also has pest repelling benefits, I believe spider mites, and if you plant it with brassicas, it may protect against the cabbage loopers. I'm gonna double check that, but I know that it's good for pest repelling stuff, and nasturtiums come in colors ranging from yellow to orange to white to pink to purple. All runs the gamut. And you can either get like the trailing variety that will like spill out of your raised bed and over the side and down onto the ground, or you can get kind of a more compact, almost bush like dwarf variety. I grow both. I'm not picky. I like them all. But my two favorites that I'm going to be growing again this year are the cherry rose jewel. This nasturtium, I believe, is like a compact variety. No, this one is a trailing one. And it has varying shades of rose pink flowers. Like I said, those flowers are edible. You can make pesto with the leaves, and then the seeds you can pickle and then use like capers, as whenever they're still like young seeds and not whenever they have already like dried out and turned black, but whenever they're still green and kind of tender, you can pickle those. And then the other variety that I absolutely love and I'm going to be growing again is Bloody Mary. This has varying deep red shades kind of splashed across ivory colored petals. So you get a lot of variation from flower to flower within the same plant. I love nasturtiums. I grow any kind I can get my hands on. These are just two of my favorites. My other favorite is Phoenix, and it kind of looks kind of like a phoenix because it has kind of like feathery parts of the petals. It's really cool. But like I said, I'll grow any kind of nasturtium I can get my hands on because I love them. I think that they're absolutely beautiful. Even if you don't, take advantage of the edible parts of the plant, it's fun to grow. It's really pretty to grow. It doesn't do well whenever it's ridiculously hot. So probably early June here in North Texas, it's gonna peter out and you're gonna lose it. But at least for like the late part of spring and the early part of summer, you're gonna have like really beautiful nasturtiums all over the place. Back to the vegetable garden side, okra. I love growing okra. Whenever it is the summer, I will literally cook okra as our vegetable every single day. It's really good for like gut health. It's a great way to help reduce your blood sugar naturally, and it really loves growing in the heat, and Texas gets really flippin' hot. So it will grow without much effort once you get those seeds in the ground and once you get them going. So I'm always going to grow okra. My husband has requested that I grow more this year than I grew last year. So I have to figure out where I'm going to put them. But yes, we're gonna have more okra. So the really interesting varieties, Jing Orange is like, it's actually red. It's like kind of longer, skinnier pods, but it's okra. It's just a red color. Eagle Path. This variety is from West Texas. This one is incredibly drought tolerant. West Texas is a desert, so anything that grows there has to be drought tolerant. And we have experienced drought conditions the last few years here. So I'm going to grow that one and see if I can get good harvests off of it without having to water it too often. Another variety is Heavy Hitter. Now this one is a super prolific variety. So typically you'll see, flower pods for okras in like 1 or 2 or maybe 3. And then the okra grows out of those flower pods. Okra is in the marshmallow family, so the flowers look like marshmallow or hibiscus flowers. Heavy Hitter, you're going to get quite a few more flowers in the same area. So once your okra starts setting fruit, instead of having 1 pod here and 2 pods here, you're going to have like 8 pods here, 6 pods here. You're going to have a ton off of one singular plant. So since my husband wants more okra, I think Heavy Hitter might be the way to go. And then the last interesting variety I actually got via a seed swap last year. It's called White Velvet. It actually was my most productive okra from 2023, and the plant was probably 12 or 13 feet tall by the time the first frost came. It was so tall, and it had like 2 main branches. It was so tall and so heavy that it just kind of leaned over and then kept growing. It was like a massive okra tree. It was humongous. And so I would have to like pull the okra plant down to harvest the stuff off of the top. It was ridiculous, and I loved it. And it created kind of a great shade for the sweet peppers that I had growing in front of it. So that is White Velvet. It was so humongous. It was really prolific. The okra pods were kind of fuzzy, so that was cool. It was like peach fuzzy. It wasn't like hairy caterpillar fuzzy. But they're kind of fuzzy, but whenever you cook it, you can't even tell that they have any sort of different thing going on with them than the other okra. They taste the same as the other okra. It was just fun to grow because it was fuzzy and gigantic. But other than that, I mean, your typical varieties of okra is what I'm going to grow. Sunflowers. I love growing sunflowers. I grow sunflowers because of my pawpaw and my stepdad. Both of them have passed away, and my stepdad had a sunflower garden, and he had the mammoth sunflowers. So there's a picture of my mom, who's 5 foot tall, in their sunflower patch with these mammoth sunflowers that are like 14 feet tall, and she just looks like the tiniest little thing, and it's adorable. So I grow sunflowers in their honor. When my papa passed away, it was in the middle of sunflower season, so we just kept seeing sunflowers everywhere, and they were at his funeral. So it's kind of a way for me to stay close to him, even though he's no longer here. So I mean, I'm obviously going to grow the yellow varieties because that's what we all know, right? But I'm also growing drop dead red. These are deep red sunflowers. The seeds, I believe, are from Botanical Interests, and I think it's a mix of different red sunflowers. And then the next one is chocolate cherry. Now, I grew these last year. Sorry, I just needed a minute to appreciate them because they're so pretty. I grew these last year. They're very deep, reddish brown, very, very deep, like almost black. That's why they're called chocolate cherry. Absolutely stunning. The plants are probably 7 to 8 feet. I took a picture of one last year that had just like popped up over the roof of my greenhouse. And it's one of my favorites. I don't care if my husband wants me to only grow dwarf sunflowers, I'm growing those. I'm gonna take another minute. Okay, all right. I love them so much. Sorry, chocolate cherry sunflowers. Please grow them. They're amazing. And then Miss Mars. This will be my third year growing them. These are a dwarf variety, so they only get 3 to 4 feet tall, which still sounds tall, but it's a dwarf sunflower. So if you think of sunflowers being like 14 feet tall, then 3 to 4 feet definitely fits the dwarf bill. These are like pale yellow petals, but the middles are like rose pink. They're absolutely beautiful. Like I said, this will be my third year growing them. I got those seeds from Burpee. I think I actually may need to pick up some more. I probably have enough to plant this year, but I'll need to pick up more for next year, or if I try to do a second planting. Tomatoes. Now, this year I'm mostly growing tomatoes for production and hot weather tolerance. Last year I had every intention of doing a tomato data analysis experiment to try to determine which tomatoes were best for my family, because every family is different, right? You can go ask in any sort of gardening group, what's your favorite tomato? And every single person is going to give you a different answer. So I was going to actually collect a whole bunch of data last year on tomatoes, the tomatoes that I grew, to try to determine what I needed to grow in the future and what I needed to, either swap away, give away, whatever. But the tomato season went defunct whenever the rat issue happened. So I'm going to be attempting the data analysis experiment again. So I'm focusing on production and weather tolerance. I don't have an unlimited amount of garden space. So I can't grow every variety of tomato that I would want to grow, despite my wishes. So I need to fit in mostly productive varieties and mostly heat tolerant varieties, and only save a little bit of room for the super fun ones. So the super fun ones that I'm going to be growing, I grew 2 of these last year, and one of them made my top 10 last year. I can't remember if the other one did. But Woolly Kate. This one was one of my favorites. It's a fuzzy tomato, like a peach, again, like the white velvet okra. But the fruits ripen to yellow with blue shoulders. The plant is pretty compact. It's a smaller plant, so it doesn't take over your entire growing space. but it's really delicious, and it's fun to grow because the plants and the fruits are fuzzy. So you can, you know, go out there and have a different textural experience than other tomato plants or any of other plants in your garden. The next one is speckled Roman. This is a new to me variety. This is a plum tomato with red skin and golden streaks. This will mostly be used for salsa and sarsa. Am I making up words? Salsa. This will be used for salsa and sauce making. Trying to be able to preserve some tomatoes this year since I failed last year. The next one is dark. Okay, so the next two I'm growing simply because I'm a nerd. When I tell you the names, you're gonna understand why. Because I like Star Wars. I do. I like Star Wars. The next two remind me of Star Wars. The second one in the list of these two definitely has a Star Wars name. But the first one is Dark Galaxy. This one I believe came from Wild Boar Farms. I got it through a seed swap, so I'm not sure like where it originated from, but it is a supposedly high producer, so we'll see, but it ripens to a rust red with black shoulders and like these little golden flecks, so it looks kind of like a galaxy. So I'm really excited about that. And then the second one, be still my nerdy heart, Rebel Starfighter Prime. Are you hearing Star Wars? I'm hearing Star Wars. Okay, so this one is an ox heart shaped tomato. So it looks kind of like a heart, but it is multicolored in shades of purple, pink, and green, and then it also has golden flecks in it. So I'm so excited to grow this one. I don't care if I only get 2 ripe tomatoes from it. I'm so excited for it, just because of its name, I'll be honest. And then the last one, it makes my top 10 growing list every year. It is the Sartre Louise. It's actually the tomato that's on the cover of the Baker Creek seed catalog this year. It is a yellow tomato and it has dark purple, it has dark purple shoulders. It's so beautiful and it tastes so delicious, and it's really wonderful in salsa and sauce and on sandwiches and in salads and everywhere else that you could put it. It's one of my favorites, so I'm going to grow it every year. It's just interesting to me. And then the last kind of interesting bit of stuff in the garden is zinnias. Now, like nasturtiums and basil, I will grow any zinnia I can get my hands on. I love them all equally. Well, not equally. These are my favorites. I am growing the entire Queen Lime series of zinnias. The Queen Lime series are kind of more of a muted color palette, so they're not as like kapow in your face. These muted zinnias, Queen Lime is the original, and then there are different offshoots from that. So there's Queen Lime Blush, Queen Lime Orange, Queen Lime Red, and on all of those, the petals will either fade from that lime green to whatever the color is, or the flower will be that muted red or orange or pinkish blush. And then there's one more, it's called Queenie Lemon Peach. But it's still within that Queen series, and it's kind of a muted yellow and peach color palette. They're really pretty. My husband likes the brighter ones more. I'm gonna grow the brighter ones for him, but I'm growing the Queen series for me. But that's kind of the gist of what I think is the most interesting stuff I'm growing in my garden in 2024. Like I said, I do grow a lot of very traditional varieties of things as well. Your Roma tomato, your typical slicer tomato. I grow those things, just regular cherry tomatoes. I grow those things, you know, your regular Genovese basil, I grow that too. I'm not saying that your garden has to only be interesting things. It just kind of helps in the middle of the summer whenever it's hot and disgusting out there if you have interesting things to see while you have to do some work in it. So in the comments below, tell me some cool stuff that you're growing this year, and maybe I need to get those seeds too. But that's all I have for you today. That's it. If you liked this video, please feel free to like and subscribe and all those other fun YouTube-y things. And I will see you all next week. Until then, go find a way to try to get your hands dirty. Bye.